Hey guys, what's going on? Will of DDT here today. My name is Bazaar, and today I'm bringing you a new deck profile and guide using the red Luffy leader. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the deck profile. So here we have the mono red Luffy leader, which mine specifically is a super pre-release. Originally, the red deck in general was the weakest of the four from the pre-release. It's since taken a huge turn, is now regarded as one of the best and a very meta deck. The reason why I use red Luffy versus the red Zoro, which by the way we also have a deck profile on, is because I like to exemplify the greatest qualities of a red deck, which is rush and rested Dawn manipulation. Luffy definitely helps facilitate that because as we can see, his effect says that you give the leader or one of your characters one rested Dawn card. Essentially, that makes it so that you have an extra Dawn every single turn. This deck overall has great survivability now, and it'll net you some great wins. You might have a tough time against decks that run a lot of blockers, but it's got enough survivabilities that you're able to swing enough, get rid of those blockers. And also, I feel like it definitely, in my experience, destroys mono purple decks. So let's get right into the deck profile. So first, we have, like I said, survivability. We have your Tony choppers. So these are your one-cost blockers. And again, you want those one-cost blockers to help protect your units, because a big thing with red is that if you lose your board, it's kind of hard to come back from it because everything costs a decent amount of Dawn, and you just want as many swingable units every single turn. So what you want to be using blockers and counters for is to protect those units. In terms of protecting your life, I would say if you have a good hand, then consider blocking or countering. But if you have not the best hand and you want to gain a hand advantage, you might as well take the hit. You also want to be blocking when you have a feeling that the blocker is going to be destroyed for some reason, or the blocker is going to be, the blocker is going to be destroyed, or you feel like you won't be able to block something later. For example, if you're playing against a mirror match, a red, and they drop a 5-cost Luffy, right? A 5-cost Luffy is unblockable, then you wish you would have blocked the previous swing. So you want to be blocking in those situations as well. So yeah, that's blockers. Next, we have Otama. So Otama is going to be your 1-cost 2k counter. Her effect is great as well. So her effect is, on play, give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. So what's awesome is her ability makes it so that you get into the range of some card effects like Nico Robins or Bepos, or especially Gum Jet Pistols. Let's say you had 2 Otamas and you wanted to, nuke a Kaido or something, you can do that. So generally though, I like to keep Otamas in my hand because her 2k counter is so valuable. And I definitely recommend running 4, as again, this is how you extend the survivability of red. You can also use this, to help destroy their units, but again, highly recommend running 4 and keeping them in your hand. Then we've got our 4 Searcher Namis. I love to have these as my starting hand, just because I can actually search for more rushers and add them to my hand. I love to have 4 Searcher Namis in my deck just because it facilitates, keeping the pressure on your opponent. And also they have counter value, but I generally don't like to use these for counter, just because I'm going to lose a lot of pressure because of that. Then we've got our 4 Structure Deck Namis, and she is fantastic. She synergizes so well with this deck. Her effect is you give 1 rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. She definitely helps with the rested Dawn manipulation. And there's some cards that require, Dawn to be attached to them. So she is fantastic as well. What's unlucky is you actually can't search for these with the Searcher Nami, as it says, you can add any card other than Nami. Also, there should be a correction here. It should be Straw Hat Crew type card and not character. So that was actually one of the corrections that was made. So yeah, 4 of these. Then this is a card that I'm considering actually switching out. But he's okay, and I keep him because he's a 2k counter. but it's the 2-cost 3000 Sanji. And his effect is that you may add 1 card from your life area to your hand. This card gains 2000 power during this turn. Again, I don't know if I really play him as much just because I like him for the 2k counter. I'm considering actually switching him for the for 2 of the 3-cost 2k counter Luffys. They're the tournament pack Luffys. And yeah, again, I just keep him because of the counter values. I've only used his effect, once or twice to try to end game, or if I was searching for a card with hand advantage or something. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be playing him that often. Next, we have the 2-cost 3000 Luffy. And his effect, actually, is if he has 2 Dawn attached to him, he cannot be KO'd by battle with another strike attribute character. And that's great, because there's a ton of strike attribute characters in this game. In addition to that, his effect is that he gets 2 Rested Dawn. He just gets 2 Rested Dawn once per turn. Again, that synergizes as well with the Rested Dawn manipulation. He can always swing at 5,000, right? You can summon, or you can summon your Sanjis, you can summon anything really, and always use him as well to swing. So that's just an extra swing every single turn. He also has counter value of 1,000, so I use him to counter if needed. Otherwise, like, the Rested Dawn manipulation is great. I think he fits well in the deck, but I do feel like he can be switched out with anything if you really want to. Next, we have our bread and butter. So you love to see him in your starting hand. We've got the Sanji. So this is a 2-cost 4,000 Sanji, and if you put 2 Dawn on him, he gains rush. This is the point of the red deck, is to always rush. Always turn, your turn 2, you can always drop the Sanji and just rush. What I like to do is I like to swing first with my leader and hope I had a turn 1 Nami. So then I would swing with my leader 5,000. Then I would go ahead, play him, put the Nami, Luffy, Nami and the Luffy, make him up to 6,000, and use my last Rested Dawn to make him 7,000. Therefore, I'm swinging with a magic number. I feel like that's definitely one of the best hands you can start with. Is if you have a Nami and a Sanji in your hand, you're always going to be swinging with 7,000, and it's great. I think if you don't have that, the next best thing is always having a Zoro in your hand. Zoro, you already know, he's just a 3-cost 5,000. You play him, you rush, you just play him sideways, like, just play him sideways already rested. But yeah, he's great. He, it's always you always love to see Zoro. You always want to search for Zoro if you can. He adds the pressure. You want to protect your Zoro if you can, because you don't need to add any extra Dawn to him, obviously, in order to swing. So if you're going to be using counters and blockers, use them to save him. Or, even use him to waste the opponent's swings, right? Next we have, Nico Robin. So Nico Robin, honestly, is a fantastic card. I think that in a Luffy deck, she's definitely a 2 of, maybe 3 of. She goes way better. I don't know why, but I just feel like she goes better in a Zoro deck to me, just because she can always swing with 5,000. But her Dawn effect is great. So it's KO one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So she, again, is fantastic, because you could be using the Luffy's effect to put a Dawn on her and swing at 5,000 and destroy blockers that your opponent has. You can also combo her with Otama to bring that into the range of 3,000. A card that's very, very similar to her is actually Bepo. And I actually run 3 Bepos because he's a 2k counter, but he's a 3-cost 2,000. So it's basically the same card, 2,000 less power, but I think the Bepo has a better value for survivability because of the 2,000 power. Now, this is one of your favorite cards to see. You love, again, your best hand is having a Searcher Nami, a normal Nami, a Sanji, and having one of these in your hand. If you have one of these in your hand, you've clutched the early game and the mid game, okay? His effect is he's a rush, and when you put 2 Dawn on him, they can't activate any blockers at all. And that is amazing against decks that are big on blockers. You want to have, if you can get all 4 of these earlier, that's great. But again, you want to be drawing him mid-game and, hope that he's in your life if you're going to take the hit. But yeah, he is an invaluable card. You need to run 4 of him in a Luffy deck. He's just broken. So this one I actually run 1 of. This is our 6 cost promo Luffy, 6 cost 7,000. Put 2 cards on him, he gains rush. So he can essentially become just a normal 6 cost. So right now he's an 8 cost. In a Zoro deck, he'd be awful to run because he's so expensive. But in a Luffy deck, he's automatically a 7 cost 7,000. Or if you have a Nami on the field, he's a 6 cost altogether, swinging for and he could swing for 9,000. And that's just amazing. Honestly, he's gotten me out of a lot of tough situations. If you ever summon him, you already know the opponent's gonna be targeting this guy, and he's got 7,000 power. So if you've got 2K counters in your hand, you can keep him alive for so long. They're really scared of him. I think he's great. He's great to run a 1 of. Then we have two Shanks. And I run 2 Shanks just because, he's extremely expensive. He's 9 cost, 10,000. But what's great is he's a rush. And, when attacking, he can't be blocked by anything that has 2,000 power or less. Again, I think it's a good card. He's going to be targeted the next turn. I always feel like when I play Shanks, he's always destroyed the next turn. But it definitely helps serve a purpose. If, let's say, you ever have a hand that has a Shanks or a Luffy, always play the Luffy. He's the broken one. Shanks is just okay. You want to play the Luffy, and then you want to slam all the down on him. He can swing for 11,000, can't be blocked by anything at all. While Shanks can actually be blocked by a decent amount of things. So, yeah, that's just my take on Shanks. Then we have our events. So, some of our events. So, let's start with the In 2 Years at the Sabaody Archipelago. So again, this is another searcher, and I should be running 4 of these. Nope, never mind. I just run 2 of these. And again, it just adds to the amount of searchers in your deck. You can actually use these to search for Namis, and you can actually use them to search for searcher Namis as well. So if you need to, dig deeper in your deck, this is great. Also, it's great when, because this has a trigger as well. It's great getting this as a trigger, and then you can pull whatever cards you need for the next turn. Then we have 2 Red Hawks. And again, Red Hawk, I feel like of the counters that are 2 cost, it's easily, of all 4 colors, it's easily the best counter, where it gains 4,000, and then you get to KO a character with 4,000 power or less. So what I like to do, I like to usually counter the first hit and just destroy one of the blockers off the rip. Its trigger effect is okay. I'd consider using it if you think they can finish. Otherwise, just hold on to the card. Yeah. Then I run 2 Diable Jambes. I think this is a great card. I'd consider running more if I could. Again, I said the deck has trouble against blockers, but I just don't know really what to take out. I love to actually I love to activate Diable Jambe on my leader Luffy, and then I like to put that Rested Dawn back on Luffy and swing 15,000 at life. They're guaranteed to take a life, and they can't block anything. So this is definitely a game finisher card as well. And yeah, it can only be used on Straw Hat type cards. So no Supernovas, unfortunately. That's Diable Jambe. And a staple of red deck, possibly one of the most broken cards in the game. But it's Diable Jambe. Again, it's a Gum Gum Jet Pistol. And again, just KO a character with 6,000 power or less. Always, purple, just use it on the queens, use it on any cards that you might have trouble taking down, whether it's, law blocker or, queens, just things that might give you any issues. And I wouldn't really use it on small fry blockers. I'd always use it on the bigger blockers or things that I might not be able to swing at and kill right away. So yeah, let me just go ahead and get this all laid out for you. So here we have a complete overview of the deck. And as you can see in the middle row, we have all of our rushers and all the units that we really just want to keep alive, and the units that are going to help apply pressure to your opponents and ultimately win you the game. You've got a ton of cards to help facilitate that, right? We've got the Searchers, we've got the Nami to help with the Rested Dawn manipulation, and that helps us run 4 Sanjis in the deck. We've got the blockers to help keep these units alive, and everything else has counter value, so you can use those to counter to keep these units alive. Otherwise, everyone's got their own taste, their own experience. This deck is very changeable, but I feel like the non-compromises should be your rushers, especially in a Luffy deck. You want to utilize his effect to the maximum. In my experience, I think I'll be changing out the Sanji for the tournament packs pack Luffys. Otherwise, we'll be keeping you guys updated with what changes we make. So again, I thank you guys for tuning in and hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Please like, subscribe, share the video with other One Piece players that are looking for deck profiles and for more One Piece content in general. It definitely helps our channel a lot. We've been growing a lot, so we really appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're also going to be releasing some gameplay videos of the decks we've been doing profiles on, so please stay on the lookout for those. Hopefully, you guys can teach us and we can teach you guys about strategies and all that. But yeah, with that, I'll see you guys in the next one.